and talk about some of our work in Cornwall. What I'm going to do is actually I'm kind of going to squeeze in two presentations if that's okay. So what I'm going to talk about first is the Special Parenting Service, which is a service down in Cornwall that's been established for 20 years now, thanks to Sue McGaw, and now Sue's left and we're kind of carrying on, building on her work. But I'm going to particularly talk about... Oh, can you hear me now? Thank you. I'm going to particularly talk about some of our early intervention work, about the video interaction guidance that we're doing, which is another form of kind of early intervention, and about some of our parental education streams. After that, and I'm going to try and maybe rush through a little bit on special parenting, because I think what a lot of people really want to hear about today is about our joint agency working. We've just launched our multi-agency protocol. So I'm here with some colleagues from health visiting and from advocacy. We've also got colleagues from social care, from children's and adults, and midwifery, and we've all come together and worked very, very hard over a number of years on the multi-agency protocol. So maybe if we can tell you about that and about some of our learning from that, that's kind of what we'll focus on in the second half. Okay? So, Special Parenting, we're a service for parents with learning disabilities, and we're a small team of psychologists. Just 2.5 of us who work across the county.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay,
in and out as you move.
Okay, can you hear me now? And we kind of form a virtual team with our colleagues in social care and in health visiting, midwifery and health. So we're working collaboratively with all of our partners across Cornwall. And we work with parents with a learning disability. That's parents who would meet the criteria, but also with parents with a learning need or a learning difficulty. So we work across that spectrum, but try and tailor our approach to the needs of the parents. So what we do, we help to find out if parents have a learning need. We help to find out what intervention people need, and we offer therapy. We offer early intervention and support, particularly to expectant and new parents, which I'll talk a little bit about. We help professionals to adapt their work for parents, and we offer a lot of consultation, advice and training throughout the county. And we contribute to multi-agency safeguarding plans. That comes from our service specification, which probably just says in a more complicated way that are kind of our simple aims. But we're very much focused on improving the health and social inequalities for families, for parents, and for children. So we're looking at improving the knowledge, skills and parenting practice for parents to improve the outcomes for their children. And overall we're aiming to keep children with their parents, so that we're working on preserving family preservation and keeping parents and children together. I just thought I'd include this slide because I think it just very much underpins the work that we're doing in special parenting. So we're based in children's services, we're not in adult services. So we're thinking about the child by thinking about the parent's needs, and we're thinking about the whole family. So we're using those think child, think parent and think family principles throughout our work. And obviously the interdependence of roles and how that links together, and also in terms of services. So we're working very, very hard, thinking about the Children's Act, but also the parents' rights and responsibilities. A lot of our work with agencies links to the multi-agency project, and actually for the last year or two, that's been a big part of my work, which has been kind of chairing our coordination group and moving forward with the interagency projects and training. So sometimes there's quite a lot of overlap between the work of the special parenting team and also the interagency protocol and the coordination group. And when we talk about that, I kind of probably will be kind of saying it is quite a lot of work, and we're very lucky in Cornwall to have a dedicated service and obviously dedicated roles for for doing that work, but it's quite a big task. We very much try and use evidence-based practice in our work. So the early intervention work I'm going to talk about is based on the best evidence base. So we're drawing very much on the good practice guidelines for parents with learning disabilities. Obviously IQ alone is not a determinant of parenting abilities. But in terms of picking our interventions, we're looking at what do we have evidence for? What are the interventions that we know actually bring about outcomes and make a difference? And that's really important to us. And I think in thinking about our early support, we're also really aware of the complexity of the families that we're working with. I've got some data I can show you in the next presentation about the needs of families in Cornwall, and actually domestic violence, experiences of abuse, experiences of being looked after children, housing, poverty. They're really, really high in Cornwall for parents with learning disability. So our interventions aren't just about learning disability, but kind of helping people with the whole range of those issues. Okay. So again, evidence-based interventions. We're looking at interventions that are solution, that are competency-based. We are trying to kind of move away from interventions where we're identifying what parents can't do. We're looking at what they can do and helping to promote confidence. We're tailoring our interventions to families' needs and parents' learning styles. We're teaching in people's homes, visual. We use an awful lot of video, which I'll tell you in a little bit. We're thinking very carefully about multi-agency coordination. That seems to be the key in terms of some of our kind of successful work and enabling families to be able to access that support longer term. But we're also trying to quite carefully look at our evaluation and monitoring, and not just for the parent, for the child. And that's something that we're hoping to kind of develop more over the next year or two, so that we're going to have sort of outcome data, particularly for our early intervention work, not just for the parents in terms of are they still with their child, but actually how are those children doing, because that's really important to us. And at the moment we're kind of thinking with health visitors about readiness for school. You know, we're hoping, and this is what our parents tell us, they want their children to be ready for school and doing really well at kind of 3 and 4. So that's kind of one of our aims, that we're helping parents to both, you know, carry on caring for their children, but to achieve the aims that the parents want, which is for them to be doing really well. Video interaction guidance. I don't know, I know there's a couple of people who know what video interaction guidance is. That a kind of new term for many in the audience? Okay, well video interaction guidance is an intervention that's in the NICE guidelines for emotional and social development for under 5s. So in terms of evidence-based interventions that we have for parents with under 5s generally, video interaction guidance along with baby massage and probably programs like Mellow Parenting actually are some of the best interventions that we have. We particularly like it for parents with learning disabilities because it's completely visual. It doesn't rely on reading, it doesn't rely on remembering verbal information. It's a visual intervention. And the other really nice thing about it is it's completely positive. What you do with video interaction guidance is that you video a mum or a dad with their child, and then you can show them the things that they're doing well. You don't show them the things that aren't going well, you just show them the things that are going well, and from that, parents learn quickly and positively ways to keep going with the interventions and the ways of parenting that's working. So it's a really positive intervention, and it kind of ticks all of our boxes for the sort of interventions we want with abilities, and it's really collaborative. It's not dependent on teaching. What you guys themselves will pick their goal, they will video what they like. So it's a very collaborative approach. It's very powerful, and I spent maybe 50 years working with children's therapy, just using words. As soon as we did some interactions, we discovered that we help and in much deeper just by this. It's quite a powerful way of intervening. It's positive, we know well. And there's something seeing that brings a bit emotional, if like of yourself, if you emotionally by seeing people and having to feel to be made change. I found that we're using video interaction kind of very powerful about impacts in their development. And the other thing about it, and this is something that I don't fully understand, there's something in our brain where we actually start reflect back, it's an unconscious process. There's something about using video which are able to make changes without constantly a really nice way of parents not be able to kind of express how they want to change, but somehow by looking at those changes, by looking at the moments that are going well, we can kind of actually help them make the changes that they want to make. And then they can see the benefits from their child. So it's a very, very affirming way of working actually. So how does it work? Parents pick their own goals. And that really helps them to stay engaged because they're picking what they want to work on. We look at the videos and that helps them to reflect on what's happening. And often the turning points might be, they might notice that their child's smiling at them. Some of our parents have been used to people telling them that they're not good enough, that they're kind of maybe not doing very well. They're you can join, they're actually doing a good job. I have, but that's just really shared with me than the parent. Video interaction is into responsiveness. So helping parents to really notice some of the child's communications and how they respond so that they become more aware of their child's needs. So we're not teaching them that in a kind of behavioural way, but you're just helping the film help the parents to develop. So by looking at this, and then noticing that things become better than usual. I think that's a really tricky slide, it's hard to see, but that will be in the handouts, which I'm sure you can have a copy of. This just shows a little bit of a model of video interaction guidance, and I don't know if you can read the top. The top part is about teaching and problem solving, and generally, I think traditionally, where psychologists and social workers and nurses pitch interventions for children and children and parents where there are maybe behaviour problems, tends to be at that top level. Kind of any kind of reward charts would be up there, or any kind of most kinds of children's parenting therapy. What video interaction guidance does, it starts at the very bottom. So if we get that those attuned interactions right, if we can help kind of parents with their communication, with the building blocks of relationships, that higher level stuff normally kind of fits into place. That's kind of what we're finding, and that's what the evidence generally of video interaction guidance is. But if you start at the top of the pyramid, it's often quite confusing. People might not have the building blocks in order to make use of those interventions. So we're really keen to kind of start with the basics of interaction and communication between our parents. And then we find, I was working with a family very recently, and this mum had a little boy, and he was biting her, and he was having temper tantrums in the shop, and things were really, really difficult for them as a couple. She was really, really struggling, and actually we didn't do any of that work on behaviour, temper tantrums, how to say no. We just started working on playing together, making eye contact, looking at those videos. And actually, from watching those videos, she started to notice what a difference smiling at her son made. He started smiling back. They started taking turns. And actually, within a few months, all of these around how to behave and to work. Just a little, it's very strong interaction guidance. It's kind of one of the, in the NSPCC's review, it's one of the recommendations that's been put forward as this is, evidence prevention that we need to be offering parents generally. So we're really delighted to be saying that includes with abilities, because I do think it holds a lot of scope, because it kind of verbally, and I guess for me, I'm keen across the country that if an evidence base that's helping families in general, let's make sure that actually that's accessible for parents with learning disabilities too. So you know, we're certainly going to be working very hard at creating that evidence base, so hopefully we can share a little bit more other than just single case studies, which is what we've got at the moment. But saying that, I think we've had about 20 families who've had video interaction guidance so far in Cornwall, and most have done very well. I guess the other thing, which is to do with our preventative work in Cornwall, which maybe just tell you a little bit about, is parental engagement in learning and education. And we're very fortunate in Cornwall in that Cornwall College run a parenting course for us, and we've actually expanded. That's run over 2 sites, which is great because Cornwall is a really big, long, thin county, and we can't get all of our parents to Camborne. So we've got 3 days a week in Camborne College and 1 day a week in St Austell College, and hopefully to build on that. And the courses that the new parents, they are cooking, normally a big part of parenting. Some years, sometimes we have groups who are very keen on doing basic reading and maths, computer skills. This year they're doing employability, so they're kind of working with one of the tutors, and for 1 day a week they're kind of getting experience working in shops, looking at basic reading and maths, but really building confidence, building skills. And I would just say the changes that we see in the parents who are coming through in those courses is quite phenomenal, mainly because they're building confidence, they're getting peer support, and they're developing skills. A lot of our parents maybe kind of felt school or other educational opportunities weren't for them. They maybe felt that they didn't do well at it. But actually in our college courses they start achieving again, and they really like that. There's a really good evidence base, and some of this I've taken from the because we're in children's services, we've been very linked in with the early help agenda in Cornwall. So if ever there's an early help meeting, I tend to be there saying, and what about parents with learning disabilities? Let's include them in the agenda. And certainly the early help agenda talks a lot about providing skills and education to parents, and the evidence base that there is for that in terms of outcomes for children. So that's kind of a bit of our background for doing this. They're doing quite a lot of work. Literacy, if you're a parent, work. So really the key goals around that education, one of the key hopes for the parent is that actually their child's going to learn to read. Well, actually, if your reading's not very good yourself, that can be really, really hard. So we're kind of thinking about the whole age range of parenting. So in our college group, we're doing a lot of work on literacy, we're working with parents on story sacks. So even if parents can't read, how actually can they support their children to kind of start enjoying books, to help them engage educationally. So yeah, lots of work that's happening there around literacy and helping the parents engaging with college actually kind of improves the educational outcomes for the children. And some of our parents have kind of gone on to kind of get employment status as well, which has been really, really super based on some of the qualifications they've got at college. So what is it's much knowledge parents doesn't have to can also anyone running with contact with Cornwall College, and it's working because that they can get funders definitely for these sort of college educators. I forget they would get back into qualifications, and that's probably the most parenting. I am going to zip into talking about our joint agency protocol. Before I do that, did anyone want to ask a question about special parenting or early intervention?